Get everybody in. Welcome. I'd like to call this Board of Education business meeting with executive session to order. It is Thursday, February 20th, 2025, and it is 5:31 p.m. Welcome.
Flanagan.
Here.
Hay.
Here.
King.
Here.
McHugh. North.
Here.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second. Flanagan.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
North.
Yes. Welcome, Kelly. Do you have an update for us this evening?
I do have an update. I could probably give an update for hours upon hours, and I'm sure you would all love that, but I look outside and I will instead choose to be brief. I do have three kind of updates for everyone that I think are relevant. Carrie Ann and I continue to work with Erin and have had some facilities meetings since we last talked, just kind of thinking about facility assessment, getting a good understanding about what that really looks like and entails and how to engage long-range planning. We talked about that a little bit at our study session. Additionally, I did have a couple of meetings with some state officials from the Housing Department of Local Affairs, Division of Housing, as well as the Office of Economic Development and International Trade around Proposition 123, which we saw in our offer for Original Carlson. We will talk more about that in our executive session, but I did want to just let folks know that we've done some due diligence on that. And then finally, I think the exciting update is we did have the second annual Clear Creek Economic Development Corporation Resiliency event last week. It was a two-day, but it's really not 2 full days. So we had an evening event with speakers and introduced the resilience team to the community. And then the next day had a leadership breakfast where we really do start to figure out how do we move from planning and talking to execution and measuring success and outcome. And so that is what we've really focused on. The exercise really was to pick and coalesce around 1 to 2 action items that can occur in 2025, 2027, and 29, I mean. And then on the even years, what are some of the things that are overhanging, recognizing the challenge of actually implementing some of the very significant recommendations that have come forward through that proposal. So more great work will come, but it was a great event. I'm really looking forward to putting plan to action. For those of us who've been in the community since the dawn of time, we have studied our economy a million ways till Sunday. And the short story is we are overly reliant on 1 to 2 industries, and that is never a successful recipe. So what might we be able to do as a community in Clear Creek County and in Gilpin County to diversify our economy? Why does this relate to school? Because we want to make sure that we are connected with the business community, that we recognize and can see where their needs might be so that we can make sure that we are providing a talent pipeline to the employers through the work that we do from preschool, early childhood, all the way up to graduation. And so it's exciting to see this come together, and the willingness of everybody to really partner and to do hard things was I think really inspiring. And I would like us all to kind of keep that in the back of our mind, that we can do hard things. And if we didn't do hard things, none of us would be here. And so I think that's just a nice way of starting off, but there will be more to come. The next meeting is going to be in March. So there will be more to come from the resilience leadership team on that. That's it.
So my update, Youth Peer Leaders in Evergreen held a Teen Make a Difference event at the Evergreen Bread Lounge on February 2nd. It was very well attended. It was great. I think there were 30 plus youth there, which was amazing, and even a couple of kids from Clear Creek, so I was excited to see them there. There was amazing conversation around what teens struggle with today, what they feel their communities do well, and then where they feel that their communities might need to improve. I have a lot of documentation about information that was gathered during that event, so if anybody is interested, please reach out to me and I'm happy to share that. The Clear Creek Behavioral Health Alliance is in the process of planning a May event for all providers in Clear Creek centered around mental and behavioral health. And those work adjacent to kind of that concept. So that would include, the school and other entities. We're looking at holding it at the gym, in the gym at Carlson Elementary sometime in May, an evening in May. It'll be about an hour-and-a-half event, and we're really looking for it to be like a community partner event that focuses on wellness and self-care, and it will allow providers to showcase what they're doing in our community. So again, please reach out to me if you have any questions or if you'd like more information about that. Yesterday, I met with Dr. Terry Jones. She's the executive director of the Blue Sky BOCES. In light of recent billing and budgeting challenges, the BOCES has decided to part ways with Centennial BOCES Business Services, who have been handling our finances for the last few years. We have given our 30-day notice with them, and they will still continue to do work with us to correct invoicing errors, Kristen, until a replacement has been found. Let's see, over the last month, I've met with the negotiations team to prepare for negotiations with CCCEA, which begins next week. I was also asked by Dr. Chelsea Shore to join the Gateway to the Rockies Opioid Council as a non-voting advisory member representing the school district. So GROC is responsible for distributing opioid settlement dollars for addiction treatment, recovery, and prevention programs. While they have several pillars of funding, their focus this year is going to be on youth prevention efforts. So they feel like the school has a good chance at getting funding dollars there from GROC, so that's pretty exciting. Tom and I have met with Dr. Shore to discuss that possibility of the district applying for some of these funds. It's magic.
My only update is DAC. The survey is live. It's open till the end of the month. And as of Tuesday, we had 136 responses so far. Surprisingly, most of the responses were from community members, followed by the second most responses from Carlson, then King Murphy, middle school, high school, GCS. So I think they're still planning to come at our business meeting in March to give results and go over.
Great, thanks. Karen is not.
She has been doing it.
Okay. I want to take a moment to just appreciate all of our community members, staff, and families that have reached out just to express concerns over safety and well-being of all of our students, because there's a lot going on. I wanted to highlight that we've got some homeschooling opportunities that will be a whole lot easier next year as we move to a fixed schedule here at the middle school, high school, and allowing students to be a homeschooling student, but also participate in band, choir, other electives, but maybe even our science classes and math classes as our students become more advanced than us as parents are really comfortable to cover. So just want to thank those individuals, homeschooling parents that have been open to meeting with Dr. Meyer and myself to kind of feel out how we can be more open to engaging that community. I traveled with some high school students to meet legislators last Thursday. We were able to speak with Representative Leslie Smith and Senator Dylan Roberts. I want to thank Tina Matthew for organizing that with CASB. CDOT has canceled our technical team meeting tomorrow here on Floyd Hill. So just wanted to put that out there as you get to make those decisions for tomorrow. And then finally, tonight is senior night for the cheer team and our girls basketball. They will be celebrated during halftime of the boys varsity game. So
We moved it up.
to before the boys game.
Yeah.
okay, well then I will be here. But that does again. But again, thank you for just lifting up those students tonight. And it is the final home game, so if you guys get tired of us here, you can run down there and watch them play.
We have to stay with 5.
Oh, I know, we do. I'm talking, I took a look at the audience, yeah, they're here.
I was like, yeah, I'll go down there.
I'm done.
Superintendent updates, just some good news, and try to share some of that way a variety of times. One is Pack the House, that was last Tuesday night, the night of study session. I've done it for a little bit, has was a nice crowd. It was packed, but it was a nice crowd that way. And I know Tina Matthews and your student government planned a lot of that, which was great. Raised some money for Colorado Wildfire Fund, but basketball showcase with students from the different elementary schools, at halftime, intermission, things like that way. So that's a real positive thing to get students in a school that maybe aren't here in this situation that way. So a super positive thing in that regard. 4 different schools, Brandy shared with me 4 different schools in the state. We'll be visiting Clear Creek Middle School, High School campus to see the work that our school is doing with Connect and Career Connected Learning. Schools visiting include Holyoke, Alamosa, Pueblo, and Weld County School. And ski team is at state ski competition today, outfitting that's snowing here, and you can ski down I-70 right now if you wanted to. So we can hike up I-70 on a pair of backcountry skis. So I'm not going to do that tonight, but anyway, I'm doing that this weekend. Some other good news, Carlson Elementary School and King Murphy have had student-led conferences that have went very well for them, and they would both say, both Scott and Lorraine would say those have went very well. I kind of put some things up there that I think it was Scott that shared these with me, and Lorraine too, I should say both. But the kind of that student ownership in the learning process, which I think is really key. We want that for all students to have that ownership in it. Self-confidence in talking about what they're doing and sharing that with their parents and with the teacher who's there. And really it's those lifelong skills of just presenting yourself, presenting what's going on, an honest self-assessment of how they're doing in school and challenges that way. And then reflecting on their personal, academic, and social progress in a meaningful way as well. And then Carlson shared a couple things too that way. In addition, they had the glow in the dark dance, was a huge success. That was a couple weeks ago. I didn't know what was going on. I kind of walked out there and see all these kids, these glow stick necklaces on. What the world is going on? And then I was like, I went in there for a little bit, and it was time for me to leave after a little bit. But our teachers participate in additional Eureka Math training on February 7th as well. So that was a positive. Other things going on the next slide, state funding and board members. I shared a document with you on email not that long ago. I plan on putting that into the weekly nugget next week unless I hear comments back. But really the point of that is just to share with our community members the aspect of state funding and how it is impacting not just the Clear Creek schools, but all schools across the state of Iowa. And I think
Colorado.
In Colorado.
Come on, man.
In Colorado. I've given this speech before, apparently. In Colorado. Though I'd say that they're their own problems. Anyway. But, the decrease in funding for our schools is impactful in many ways. And I think it's just very important to recognize that and advocating, contacting legislatures. So there'll be a little thing on here of a website, kidsmatter2.org. So just kind of recognizing this whole thing of the state has had issues with their budget. They've taken it from schools before. And I know they take from other areas as well, but we seem to get hit from everything I've told you. Schools across the nation get hit. In Colorado, we're talking about schools in Colorado get hit. And I think I heard something somewhere that just with different things that could happen, it'll impact 80 to 90% of our schools on a very negative note. Just recognizing that. The next thing, DAC survey is available. Marcy just talked about that a little bit. Up until the end of the month, there's a little link on the nugget this week again, so you can get it there. I know it's been sent out to people as well. We had state inspections at the middle school and the high school. From the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. Aaron's working on some things too, some minor things that way. So and Brandy took the tour with Aaron and the inspector that way. It wasn't that we were doing anything wrong. They just hadn't, from my understanding, they had not been here in several years and wanted to just check us out a little bit. So it was a good report overall. Kristen and several of us participated in finance director interviews on Tuesday this week, still going through that and trying to figure out the best candidates. So hopefully I'll be sharing that in the near future that way. Some water discussion, we're gonna start some water discussions based on our conversation at the last meeting. on where we're going with that. We're gonna talk to a group of students and teachers, then we'll talk to the plan right now is talk to all of the teachers in this building, all staff members in this building, I should say, to know kind of where we're at that way. And then just kind of sharing with students, sharing with parents as well. So we had a safety meeting February 12th. It was actually very well attended from throughout the county. We had some different updates from organizations, discussion on wayfinding signs, discussion on entrance signs, discussion on a bunch of different things. It was a very worthwhile meeting and very well attended, like I said. And the last thing here, if that's the last slide I had, is staff recognition. And I will just kind of share some different things here. Some people that we had talked a month ago, a couple months ago, something like that, about recognizing our staff who have been in our school district for 20 years, 25 years, more than 25 years, but quite a ways maybe, or not quite as much, but just recognizing people, because it's important, as we hear, it's, we want to show that we value our employees, whether they've been here 1 year or 20 years or 30 years or whatever the case may be. So, I once had a teacher who was there for 41 years before he retired. So anyway, so I'm just gonna name some people. If you just want to stand up, we will recognize you again during Teacher Appreciation Week. Some people could not be here today as well, based on the roads and other things going on in their life. But do you want to read these off, or should I? It's up to you. Go ahead, read them off, that's fine.
Say, Carrie Cross is one of our bus drivers.
Carrie, yes, he and his wife are not here tonight, based on, they're watching their grandson and roads and stuff like that. So go ahead.
Carrie has served 29 years in the district. Polly Fisher is here with us.
Stand up, you guys recognize, I'll shake your hand and everything like that,
Polly's been with us for 27 years. Online, we have Margie Marlin, who is also serving.
Margie.
Dan Hunt is with us.
That was one of the first people I met when I walked in the building this summer when I started.
Michelle McNeil is with us. Chris Kamatsu has served with us 21 years. Dale Cass has been with us 21 years. Jill Stansberry is here with us, 20 years. Thank you all so very much for coming out in this weather to join us. And thank you for all of your years of service. Yeah.
Yes, and stay, you don't have to leave.
Say our students are all otherwise engaged this evening, so we can move on to the next slide. Say, Brandy Wheeler, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Tonight you're wearing your middle school hat.
I am. Didn't think I would do that after the 6 years in high school. Do you want me to stand here, up here? Doesn't matter.
Wherever you want.
That's good here.
Give me 1 second.
You're good. That's not fun. I like looking at that. You know? All right. So coming in this year as the new principal, I will be honest, I hadn't been in middle school in quite a while. I've been in high school for the last 6 years. And so I wasn't sure how I would feel about being with our middle school kids, but I'm going to tell you I'm very fond of them. It's been a really great year. And so I kind of just start with, we'll provide more than just education, create a supportive community where students can excel academically, socially, and emotionally. And I think that's very important when it comes to middle school, because that's kind of where kids start to find themselves and we want to lead them on the best path as possible. So we have some amazing teachers. Some of you may have already know them, but if you don't, we have 4 core teachers. We have Deb McClure, who teaches math. We have Sarah White, who teaches English, Gianna Pachalski, who is science, and Kyle LaValle, who is social studies. These 4 teachers care very much about their children. Deb McClure, this is her 5th year in the district. Sarah White is a 2nd-year teacher, and you wouldn't know it. She is very good. She's wonderful with communication. Kids connect with her well. Gianna Pachalski is also a 1st-year teacher, and you wouldn't know it. They are fantastic in the classroom, and they go above and beyond every day. So we're very thankful for her. Kyle LaValle, this is his 2nd year in the district, but a 1st year as a middle school teacher. He has high standards, and I like that. He used to be a high school teacher, but I think it's important that we hold our middle school students to the same standards and keep them on the path that we're going to expect in high school. So this is your core team. They will be with me. We're about to start enrollment for incoming 6th graders, and then for 7th graders going on to 8th grade. They're going to be a part of the enrollment process and get to know our students. So I felt it was important just to highlight all the hard work, because it's not an easy job, and we're very thankful for them. Middle schoolers can be very volatile, but also very happy and go-lucky. And so it takes a special person to teach middle school, and these 4 are that. So felt like it was important to recognize them tonight. Currently, we have 34 7th graders and 44 8th graders in our middle school. Next year, we're projected to have 56 7th graders, so I'm very excited about that. That's a huge leap. And then, of course, if hopefully all of my 7th graders come back, we will have 34 8th graders next year. And that's kind of, it's a smaller class, but that is a mighty class. Our 7th graders are vocal, and I love them. So we're going to have some fun with them next year. When I came, I always kind of like assess the situation. Where are we at? What will we need? And I want to do that without changing too much. I also like to put a little spin on things. So after talking with the staff, looking through some previous data, what we have, I said, okay, these are the 3 goals that I think are the most important. And I wanted the staff to help collaborate with me on, do they feel that way too? And they did. Our middle school teachers believe that our culture and environment, climate is very important. We want every student to feel like they belong or be a part of something. That way, it kind of gets them like they want to come to school. Kids really want to come as it is. So if they have something that they love or someone they can connect with, then they're going to want to come. So that is my number 1 goal. Do I want academics and do we want rigor in the classrooms? Absolutely. So that is my 2nd goal. But if kids are happy and want to come to school, that's where you can start increasing that rigor. And we do have a little bit of work in the middle school, I'll be honest with you. But to get both of those things, I need voice and leadership for my students. What do they need? What do they want? Because the perception that adults have is very different than students. We may think it's a really cool lesson, or we may think it's a really cool new thing we're doing, and they think it is so lame. And so we have wanted to have that student voice and leadership, which is why I know my 7th graders are so vocal, because they will tell you what they need and what they want. And I love that. I love partnering with them. Our 8th graders have caught on. And so now we have 2 vocal groups. But this is what you want in this district. You want them to be a part of it because they know what they need. We guide them, but they can lead us in the right direction. So this is kind of the goals for the middle school that we have right now. We created a spreadsheet of all of our students. We wanted every student to be a part of something or to be touched by something or connect. And so we took some statistics for you guys. Currently, the programs that we have a new esports. I mean, esports has kind of been off and on, but we really kind of tried to push it this year. We started a new cheer team, which has a lot of middle schoolers on it. They're down there right now cheering if you want to see them later. We have a student government for middle school now, yearbook, Snow Dodgers, of course, because it's amazing. We have STEM and robotics. We had some of our leads actually were middle school kids in the fall play and the musical that's coming up. So that's kind of neat. Band and choir, we have options for them. Art, Spanish, mountain bike club, and then we have set up multiple lunch programs for kids to be a part of so that they can go. So Wednesday we have Mountain Youth Network. We have Resilience 1220 that comes in and helps us. We even have a mental health professional that just does like a lunch and lounge on Thursdays for kids to go if they just need a place to be. So we're trying to tackle every area to make sure kids are a part of something. Athletic programs, if you look, our middle school is pretty highly involved in our athletic programs. We have 24 students in football, and I won't read them all off, but this is a big deal for middle school sports. for you to be a part of something in a team and learn that. And so I was watching our middle school basketball. They're very good. I'm pretty sure they could compete with our girls, our high school girls team. But
The high school girls do.
I agree with that, but they can compete. So we're looking forward to track baseball coming up, but to even have middle schoolers in boxing this year, it's a pretty neat thing. So we're very proud of the work that we've done and excited that the kids feel like they can be at home here and be a part of something. So along with that social and emotional piece and wanting our culture environment, Connect is a program that we have here. They have crew in elementary. Connect is where they're with a teacher, sometimes 10, 13 to a class. And so they can meet with their peers and they can meet with their teachers. And 7th and 8th grade Connect goes really well. By the time they get to high school, we're still working on it. They're kind of over it. But our middle schoolers are still enjoying it for the most part. And these are just some of the activities they do. We do competitions. We're about to do a rock, paper, scissors school-wide competition where they came up with cheers, had posters that they made as their flags, and they're going to be competing over the weeks. And that's not academic, but that makes them excited to be with each other. So some of these things they've done limbo, house of cards, and honestly, their teachers are not their middle school teachers. We have high school teachers teaching the Connect classes so that they can get to know those teachers and be excited to be with them as they move on. That is all of our ugly sweater contest for middle school over here on the left. During Thursdays for the first semester, Mr. Inman and I would meet with our middle schoolers on Thursdays. We would call it heads up. So Mr. Inman yells out real loud, like, "What's up?" And then they say, "Heads up." We do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we just talk about different things that these kids need to know. Collaboration, talk about your behavior. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I sent emails home to parents of what we are going to be working on and those skills. And then we passed that in the second semester to Ashley Smith, who's our mental health professional person, and she does a lot of preventative programs. And she's now working with the kids on Thursdays through different topics that they may be struggling with as they get older. So I'm excited for it. After we talked about how we're going to get this culture and climate going, the truth sets in and you realize school is about academics, and so we do have to have those goals. I looked at our CMAS data, we looked over our NWEA data from the past and tried to see where are we and where do we need to go. And so our goals for the 24-25 school year, we made them very simple. We want growth in ELA and we want growth in math. But how are we going to get that? And what were those causes? So we noticed we had a pretty big chronic absenteeism rate here, unfortunately. So that's something we have to learn to tackle. And then also just assessment practices. So just to give you a little background on our assessment practices, our kids are tested in NWEA 3 times a year, if you don't know, fall, winter, and spring. They were taking the test in class, sometimes three a day, where they would come, they'd show up in math, they'd take their NWEA, they'd go to English, take their NWEA, they'd go and take another language test in another class. If they didn't finish, it may be over 2 days. In all honesty, we don't believe that's what's best for students at our level. We want them to feel relaxed, rested, take maybe 1 test a day, because I would have fatigue if I had to take 3 tests a day. And we know that we have to prepare them at some point in high school, but to get accurate data, we've changed our assessment practices. So we only do 1 test a day, we bring them all together, we pump them up. When they finish, they show us their scores. We have teachers and admin going around giving them fist bumps, showing them on the chart, this is where you are and this is where you're gonna go. And so that has been a game changer for us as far as how that looks for our kids. One kid even told me before, yeah, we didn't care. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good. But now.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm really happy about that.
But I think, they have to understand the why. It's just like adults. And so I don't want to focus too much on the assessment piece, but I need the data to see where we truly are. Our school needs that. And so from the fall, I let them do it how they originally did. And then we moved into winter and tried it a new way. And I can show you some data here in just a second. So some other ways that we wanted to take these root causes and improve them besides our assessment practices is aligning our curriculum with the elementaries. And so we've seen growth with Scott and Lorraine having Eureka Math. Their teachers are doing an amazing job. And then also EL strategies for ELA. So we have taken steps to align that. Our math teacher just left King Murphy, along with Carlson's teachers. They did a math lab learning day. They got a ton out of it. They're learning. We want that common knowledge and common language for our students so that they can excel all the way up, not just in 6th grade, and it changes in 7th. So we've also done that in English language arts. We're now using EL strategies in the middle school so that it's kind of that continuous language, and we have that vertical alignment. On RPD days, I allow for my staff to have department meetings so they can chat and talk and figure out where they're at and look at their data. So CMAS, we are currently not performing necessarily where we should. We'd love to be in the 50th percentile. And so that is a goal of ours. We have some strategies in place, like I just discussed, to get there. But with the NWEA data that I have from fall to spring, if you look, this blue right here is the beginning where they were in math, right here. We changed assessment practices, talked to them, showed them the why, and then this is where you are now, this red. You see the increase. 8th grade, you stayed about the same. We'll break them one day. They'll get there. But then if you go to math, we did have a little dip right here in 7th grade. And I'm just gonna say it's because they focused so hard on reading, because it was really high. But the truth is, we can see some growth. 8th grade, math increased significantly. We don't think it's just the assessment practice. It's talking to the kids, helping them understand the why of this is important. We are not just testing you to test you. We want to be able to help you, give you relevant curriculum in the classroom that you like and will help you succeed. This is the Eureka Math Squared English that I talked about. We hope to see some gains after CMAS, but right now we don't have any current data on it until we take that test and see how that vertical alignment does. The other part of curriculum is our PBL. Each class was required this year to do a project-based learning program. They talked about it at the beginning of the year. Some were like, I'm gonna do one at the end, but they actually started implementing it and realizing that if it's not just a project, because that's not what I want for our school and that's not what we want for our school. We want them to actually do something with inquiry, critical thinking, applying it to the real world. And so Mrs. White took the children in English and had them create children's books project. She used grammar in that. She taught them how to do writing. And then they went to the elementary schools and presented those books to those kids and then donated them to the libraries. So we're really thankful for them partnering for us. In social studies, they're actually creating a society. That has been super interesting to learn what they think a society is. But we are just happy that they're learning the different pieces of what the real world may be like. And that's Mr. LaValle's class. We have not gotten to reducing carbon in the atmosphere, but I do plan to go down there with math. And then they're also gonna do scales and proportions in math that they haven't gotten to. So we've got some good things happening. We wanna start that work in the middle school because we know career-connected learning and relevant teaching in the high school is one of our redesigns. So I think we've got a lot of good things happening right now. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm getting lots of texts about the weather, just.
I know. There's textbook buses.
Do we have any committee members? Okay. We'll just. Welcome.
It's so, yeah, oh God, thank you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to hear so many positive things happening at the middle school.
Yeah.
So I'm presenting
Thank you, Paul.
Rachel Normley, who's master's in CCEA. And I know it's really helpful for my students to know like how long I'm going to go on for. So I'm going to tell you it's about 10 minutes. I have to read a lot of it, but I really appreciate this opportunity to share with you my reflection after being here so long. And so my name is Polly Fisher, and I've been both a reading specialist and I currently teach kindergarten at King Murphy. And I've been in the district for nearly 28 years. And so I'd like to start out by just thinking, like considering what our vision for Clear Creek School District is. And it's easy to lose sight of it when we have many other things going on. I dream of a district where students are engaged and challenged and empowered, where student achievement reflects passion-driven learning that inspires students to improve their communities and defend their beliefs. I believe this vision aligns, at least in part, with yours. We all want the best for our students, the best possible education, and to equip them with life skills to pursue their dreams. But how do we achieve it? My nearly 28 years in the district has given me a unique perspective. From the beginning, financial hardship has shaped our schools. When I was first hired, King Murphy identified a critical need for a reading teacher, reading specialist, and I was selected for the role, only to be told within a day or two that the district couldn't afford my position. My salary was $7,000 that year. It was a quarter teacher salary, and I had no benefits. I still remember what my husband said to me. If it doesn't impact our family, how can it possibly impact the district? It was only through the advocacy of our PTA that somehow my position was funded. Unfortunately, this wasn't an isolated issue. Not in 28 years has the district claimed financial stability. Lack of financial stability directly affects students and teachers. For 18 of 28 years, we were only given an increase to the base, $1,000 or $2,000, which created a system that encouraged teacher attrition. The youngest, least experienced teachers received the largest percentage of raises, while seasoned teachers were driven to seek employment elsewhere. In 2018, the middle school and high school experienced a 65% teacher attrition rate. And it was so alarming that teachers came together and asked the board for recognition that year of our association. And yet, Clear Creek's teacher turnover remains a crisis, 32% last year, which means nearly 1 in 3 teachers left. Imagine a business losing 1/3 of its workforce in a single year. The consequences, struggling recruitment and onboarding, which is costly and time consuming, increased financial strain, loss of collaboration and camaraderie, and loss of institutional knowledge. We see the same effects in our school. The high turnover rate doesn't just impact teachers, it drives families away. This year, our high school math position remained unfilled for 2 months. After multiple rejections, it was finally filled by an online instructor that also requires a paraprofessional for supervision. The problem doesn't stop with teachers, it extends to administration. In 28 years, I've worked under 10 different principals, nearly 1 for every 3 years. Each new leader brings changes, often sweeping ones, only to leave a few years later. I just wonder why our administrators don't stay and become part of our communities. How does this provide students with consistent, high-quality education that they deserve? For nearly 3 decades, Clear Creek teacher salaries have lagged behind neighboring districts. Meanwhile, the district has invested heavily in new curriculum initiatives, paid marketers to promote our district, added administrative positions to oversee instruction, and maintained administrative positions while cutting educator roles. While well-intentioned, these roles do not directly teach students or build relationships with our families. And they have not proven effective at increasing test scores or increasing enrollment. Now, as we enter another bargaining cycle, we're told again that declining enrollment prevents us from offering competitive salaries. Last year, we were initially offered a 1% raise, despite a 3.5% inflation rate. After negotiations, we secured 3%, but still lost purchasing power. Meanwhile, we have district administrators that reach the top of their salary scale in just 1 year, a practice unheard of in our comparable districts such as Gilpin, Platte, East Grand, and Park County, where administrative pay is tied to years of service. These districts also have combined administrative positions in response to declining enrollment. If we compare our low teacher salaries to other low-paying districts, why aren't we holding all salaries to the same standard? Additionally, While our district experiences declining enrollment, we have maintained or even increased the number of non-student contact positions. Clear Creek is a shrinking district with a growing, or at a minimum, a maintaining administration. It is not the role of our association to find savings for the district, but I do ask, could Clear Creek learn from our comparable districts and combined responsibilities to reflect our financial reality? What if we build a real plan to achieve our vision? What if we invested in educators offering competitive salaries so they could build careers and retire in Clear Creek? What if we stopped chasing the next big curriculum change and focused instead on relationships, stability, and teacher retention? I am incredibly fortunate to have spent my career at King Murphy. Knowing and serving students year after year and families has been rewarding and fulfilling for me. My grown daughter hopes to return to Clear Creek and to King Murphy, and probably my house, while I move out, for her own children. In the past few years, several former Clear Creek students have returned to King Murphy as parents. Listening to them reminisce about their times at Clear Creek High School is delightful. They cite teachers who were there all 4 years and really impacted their education. They describe a school experience that is different from the one we offer today. Stephanie Hobbs, our beloved substitute teacher at King Murphy, tells about trying for over 15 years to get a job in Clear Creek, but never could because there were never teacher openings. She lived on Floyd Hill, but taught at DPS for her entire career because, in her words, no one ever left Clear Creek. This is the kind of community we can build, again, district-wide. I'm sorry, but not with the revolving door of educators. We also cannot count on only hiring teachers that live in the area or have spouses that contribute to the majority of the income. 2 reasons why I stayed in Clear Creek so long. I'm close. We teach students the importance of a growth mindset, that their abilities are flexible and they have the power to improve. We encourage our students to take on challenges require reflection, adjustment, and persistence. We tell them never say, I can't, because effort leads to progress. Yet despite what we teach, I continually hear board members and superintendents say we can't, and we may not even be here in 4 years. How does this build a vision? How does this market our district? And most importantly, how does this incentivize families and educators to stay and invest in Clear Creek? Is it that we can't, or we are unwilling or too fearful to take a risk for excellence? After 30 years in this district and 28 of them in schools, I wonder, when will we seek a different approach? Does the board truly believe curriculum and a rotating cast of teachers builds excellence? Or do they recognize that dedicated, experienced educators who stay in the district and build strong programs are the key? Does the district believe teacher positions just need to be filled by any lay person, or do you recognize the value of teachers who are committed to students in the district? What does the board truly value, and how will you demonstrate your values to Clear Creek students, employees, and taxpayers? It is time to invest in stability, time to invest in educators who want to stay, time to stop managing decline and building a future. And in light of our financial reality, perhaps it is also time to critically examine every position and ask, what do we truly need to do to provide the best for our students in our community? I see so much potential in Clear Creek. Our size alone allows us to focus on community and meeting individual needs. But I also recognize the necessity for a stable educational program for students. It is clear to me that we need a new direction. I believe we face a critical choice in this year's bargaining. Do we continue limping along the same path, scraping together small salary increases, reducing educator positions, and hoping for change while repeating the same approach? Or do we make a bold, intentional decision to chart a new course? One that prioritizes investment stability and embraces a clear vision for our future. Do we leverage available funds to invest in educators and students, committing to a future of growth, excellence, and possibility? Or do we resign ourselves to simply getting by? The future of our district depends on the choices we make now. And thank you for your time and your consideration.
Point of order, did we skip item 4 on our agenda
Yeah.
for a reason?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
So item 4 on the agenda was on the Warren Tech Scheduled Student Curriculum Report. And Brandon can add to this, but Warren Tech is changing their schedule to a morning and an afternoon, just like they've had, but it's now all of the programs are 5 days a week instead of some of them being 4 days a week. So that may have an impact. Now, we just got information today. We have, how many students was it?
25.
25
Some of those
students.
are, 4 or 5 are regional,
Yeah,
the rest
so.
are on the side.
So just recognizing that aspect that way, and that's the largest number of students, and I can build a bit here too, but that's the largest number of students that I think we've had go down to Warren Tech. Jill, is that right? Kind of, so I think that's a good thing. That's a great thing for our students and for their learning. It's another option that we can't, a typical high school cannot offer on campus. So it's a good thing. We do have to work out transportation, everything like that, but those are good problems to have. And it's preparing our students more for their future as we go on and prepare them for their future. It's a great thing to have. Anything you want to add to that, Brandy?
No, we're just excited because with the schedule changes and our new schedule for the high school, it's going to actually align and work out. And Brooke said it might even be better
I think it's better.
for transportation. So that's good to hear. The number is a little hard to take because that could be a bus versus vans, right? But the new schedule and,
We'll make it work.
we'll make it work.
And as Brooke told me, as she goes, I'm gonna take bus, how am I gonna drive? And she goes, I'll make it work, after she had a day of like, how am I gonna do this? So anyway, but I think some different people have been involved with that, Brandy and Pam, Pam Ginter specifically, along with some other people, but they've really allowed students to see beyond the courses that are offered here, which is great for our students in the future. So that's all I have on it. Now, if any questions on it, all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Do we have a PTO representative from Georgetown or high school? About PTA from Carlson? King Murphy.
I'll say something if you want. I go to all the meetings.
Sure.
So we are hosting our chili cook-off. It's the 4th annual event. It helps to raise money and it also helps to bring the community together, which is part of our goal at King Murphy, is having a strong community. We have a silent auction this year that Sally Sprung and Jill Kugel have really helped to just create. And there are tons of great items to bid on. And hopefully all of that will help to buy, possibly Scott would like new smart TVs, I would like a new carpet. And so we're just really excited about that. And we hope that you can all join us. It's free, it's a free event. And last year, we probably had over 150 people. This year, I'm expecting 300. I'm gonna click it and see. Our PTA has a new president, vice president, secretary, just a whole new group, and they're very, very eager to help King Murphy. And they're hosting many events and really supporting the teachers and the students, and it's a great group of people. So, do you have any questions?
So we started with our high schoolers?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they want to help volunteer,
Yeah.
who do I direct them to? So,
Or me, or Who's the other person in charge? No, Scott.
Try
to keep Scott. Yeah, just send it my way and then I'll handle it. Jordan Dunbar has been really helpful as well. And we would really appreciate that. It's a great opportunity to get volunteer hours. I can't offer a lot of pay, but we told them volunteer hours. Yeah. Any other questions?
I would say that she's humble because we went to this model where try and draw more people in, where one class is the sponsor, and that has become Alicia in the second grade doing a giant amount of work. Well, it's like not so.
I used to be an event
It wouldn't
coordinator for the
have
Boy Scout
happened without Alicia's.
Also, I would like to point out that Kirsten has been so very helpful in supporting it because it will be hosted during the rec department basketball game. And we sort of do that every year just to draw more people in. So hopefully people from Georgetown and Carlson can also join us.
I don't see a representative of the Booster Club, so.
I can do that.
Legislative updates, Kelly, I know you had some comments about 123, did you want to?
No, I am not sure why that one is there. I probably did something I didn't mean to. But I think the big thing from a legislative perspective continues to be the state budget crisis. That word is the appropriate one. The deficit has moved from 1 billion to 1.6 billion. The last time our state budget looked this way was in 2008 in the Great Recession. That was also, for point of clarification, when the BS factor was first implemented. As we know, we did pass a bill last year to change the School Finance Act. That is unimplementable as it stands right now. And so I think it is really paying very close attention. The governor's proposed budget cuts an additional $165 million from K-12 schools. And I think we've seen stuff from the federal government as well, cutting significant funding for SPED particularly and other high expenditure elements of public education. So I know that Tom had mentioned a letter that he'll include in the weekly nugget. I might ask for a slightly broader reach of that letter and would hope that the board could get on board to support that. Essentially what that looks like for our district is a reduction to our budget of 88% if these proposed things happen. I don't know how a business, a family, a school district survives with an 88% budget reduction. But that is what we are looking at. So I do think that if the board would be supportive, and I don't know if I need to make an official motion or not, but I would really like to expand the reach of that letter to our community, because I do think that it's important, of course, for the people that read the Weekly Nugget to pay attention, but I think it's extremely important that our community members, voters of all, people can reach out to their legislators and encourage them to take care of K-12 school. There are plenty of times that we've been good partners and taken cuts, but at some point the cuts are just too draconian and too intense. I think this is that time. So I would move that we expand our reach from the Weekly Nugget to the mailing lists that we've compiled over time, and that is an official motion.
I think we need a motion. Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, Flanagan,
Yes,
Hay,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
North.
Yes.
thank you.
Any public comment?
No.
Budget.
So Chris and I are gonna share with the board some general information. That way, I think it was things that Kathleen had sent you to as well. Is it after? Oh, okay. Yeah. Kind of talking about where we're at in the budget area. That way I'll let Kristen handle it. It's just an overview of the budget and certain proposals that are out there from the state that way. So The first page, I'll start off the first page, and Kristen can handle from there, but when you look at our estimated increase in total program funding is about $30,000. Just about $30,099. Middle levy inflation is 35.51. So total new revenue is about 33,650. If we add, if you look at last year, we had a one-time retention bonus. If we would not give that this year, maybe we can just throw that out there. Then you look at increased expenses, loss of revenues with forest funds, where that is up. So our additional funding prior to salary assumptions, prior to any salary assumptions is $35,357. That way, that's not very much. I'll turn it over to Kristen here.
So if you take the top sheet will be the same, then you have 3 other scenarios in order. So the top sheet kind of then folds into each of the separate scenarios. So if you take the first one, there's nothing additional added except that we are presenting a new classified salary schedule this year, and the cost to implement that is $44,000. So when we take what we're considering like the new money, and then you include the new salary schedule, we are projected to be at a loss for fiscal year 26, starting at $8,722. When you add in the current projected loss from fiscal year 25 of $959,570, we start fiscal year 26 at a $968,000 loss. When we take the end of fiscal year 24 general fund unassigned fund balance of $5.9 million, basically take out the projected loss from fiscal year 25, we have the estimated unassigned fund balance, so where we project we're going to land with our fund balance at the end of fiscal year 25, then take out the projected ongoing loss that we need to incorporate for fiscal year 26, and then that gets us to our new unassigned fund balance. If we go with this process or this scenario, if you look at the bottom, it will show basically for each fiscal year when we will run out of money. So are there any questions on this one before we go? The next two follow the same logic.
Is there a slide?
No, I thought we were doing this.
Okay.
So I run out of money in 3 years.
I'm sorry?
Fiscal year 31 is what we're showing.
On the first scenario.
Right.
So I don't know if you want me to go into the second and third scenarios, or I wrote at the top like each of those scenarios.
Can see with different increases, it goes, obviously with different increases with STEP and COLA, a step at 2.5% or whatever, you can kind of see where that leads to with, fiscal year 26, still having a fund balance of $3.7 million. By the time you get to fiscal year 29, it's a negative $183,000. You kind of go on in that regard.
Is this just the low point in the year? Like,
That's the end balance.
That's the end balance.
I just want to make sure that.
Used to me,
So we actually get to a place where we would have to borrow money to make payroll.
That's
Before-
next year.
That's next year.
That's
Yeah.
next year.
I'm just, yeah. Like these numbers aren't telling us even the full story, because you two have access to more information being on the negotiations team than
this
Marcy
is
and I
the
have.
same information. they
Same
have.
information.
I know, but I'm saying that Marcy and I are looking at this for the first time.
I actually met with Kathleen,
Okay,
second time.
I'm looking at this for the first time. So,
Yeah, so I
so
know.
I'm just asking some clarifying
Yeah, no,
questions.
it's good
ask-
questions.
Yep,
It
ask
is-
questions, please.
This is, it's even harder than,
I would share though, just to maybe have a teeny glimmer of decent-ish news, since we did have our study session meeting, from that time to this time, the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act and reauthorization was introduced in the United States Congress. So that is great news. I have been told that that is a hard chance to get that one passed. And so if folks are so inclined, online or in the room, that calling your Republican representatives will be a very smart thing to do for this, as that is the current governing party for our country right now. And so if you believe that the Secure Rural Schools funding is important, you should make some phone calls.
You know, we've had a lot of discussions, you know, on the negotiations team, and in executive session, you know, before, and I know, you know, you've had a chance to meet with Kathleen and everything. So I think that it's very important that we consider, you know, what steps we want to take as a school district in order to right-size our budget. We need to get to a point where we have a balanced budget. I mean, obviously, we can't continue in this downfall, and to alleviate your fears, obviously.
Kids that go here.
Somebody in the chair, right?
We will not let the school district run out of money. So we are here to make a plan to figure out how we can balance our budget. In light of that, in light of this information, in light of discussions that we've had, you know, the state of the financial situation of the district is obviously, you know, it's not a great place. So I officially recommend that the board directs Tom to look at making at least a $500,000 cut to the budget overall in the district in order to start shifting towards a balanced budget. I know that your priority will always be to make sure that the students are affected in the least possible way, which would be the priority of all of us sitting up here, as well as I know everybody listening, while we make these adjustments to the budget. The idea would be to continue working towards a balanced budget over the next few years, because we cannot continue to eat away at our reserves in this manner for much longer without affecting the longevity of our district. So I would like to officially recommend that we direct at least a minimum of a $500,000 cut to the budget in order to help this.
I think, Erin, where some of that comes from, just for clarity, I guess, in my regard and for others, is thinking, because we're looking at roughly like a $1 million deficit. I mean, somewhere between, I'll say 800, I'm being very generous, 800 to 1.1 million, somewhere in that area. And I think the thing is just looking at that over a 2-year process, you know, whatever. I would not recommend doing everything in 1 year. I think that would be extremely challenging to do for a variety of reasons. But just looking at ways, and we've been working on ways of looking at trying to keep it away from kids as much as possible, you know, as well. Some things that were brought up earlier in the day too.
I know that in the past, when we had discussions, when Gas was still here, it wasn't a motion. It was just a direction from the board to the superintendent. So I'm not positive that a motion is warranted, but I think we should have discussion about it.
The only reason I think a motion is perhaps warranted is given the very real constraint. And I think maybe this comment will do it, but putting a very fine point that 500,000 is the minimum of what we would expect to see recommended. If I had my druthers, we would be looking at bigger cuts than that, but I do understand the implication of all of that. But I would just like to be extra clear and firm that the expectation is 500,000 at a minimum.
I'm curious, Dr. Meyer, like, who's accountable for the $900,000 loss last year? Like, and why was there a loss? And I'm not privy to that.
Well, you went in, going, from my understanding, you can correct me, I wasn't here, but my understanding going into the year, we knew there was going to be $800,000, $900,000, $1 million loss. So that was known going into it, from my understanding. That's not, that I guess in my mind, that I was told that when I first got here, we were working at a deficit of $800,000 to $1 million. That's what I was told when I first got here, actually.
Okay.
So I think that was communicated in some way. Don't ask me how or what or why or
I'm
anything
just
like
curious,
that.
why? Like, why that much? Like, I'm trying not to ask a question, but that's a shocking number to just be presented with.
Can I speak to that, actually?
Please, yeah.
So we met with CCCEA this week, and you were there for the second part of it, but I think you missed part of this discussion. So we were able to share, a bit more of where that information breaks down. So, please feel free to reach out to Rachel if you have specific questions. But I do want to highlight that only $100,000 of that amount was due to capital reserves transfer. So I know in the past, we have transferred a higher amount to capital reserves, and that has contributed to an ongoing deficit, but in this case, that's not it. It was only $100,000 of that. I would like to elevate the fact that the board has given significant increases to teachers over the last several years. A lot of people have seen raises upwards of 30% or more in that time, and that has contributed to the ongoing deficit.
Educators or administrators?
Educators.
If you add the years together.
Yeah, if you add the increases we've given over the last 6 years together, collectively, it's over 30%. I think the average is 33%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And maybe just point of order, this is not how you
Yes.
do a meeting. So I'd like to ask you to please not allow that anymore. Thank you.
So just to clarify, I do believe that our ongoing deficit has been growing due to the increases that we have been giving to educators over the last several years.
So I will look at reviewing things, and we started some of that too already, looking at a minimum of $500,000 and see where we're at, give some reports in the future to you where we're at or where we're not at, whatever the case may be. If that makes sense.
Staff and family calendars.
We've updated staff and family calendars, matching up with Jeff Kowitowski's study session. The reason for the change at this time is to match up with Jeff Co's spring break. Ours was a week earlier than theirs when they just came out with their calendar 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're just looking to balance that up. That way, you want to add anything to that or?
Just that the main reason for that is so that our warrant tech students actually get a spring break.
I move to approve the 2025-2026 staff and family calendars.
I'll second.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
North?
Yes. We've got 2 policies on second read. Do we have any other community feedback?
Hearing no feedback that has not been already adopted, recognized, and discussed, I would move that we approve policy LBD on second read.
I'll second.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
North?
Yes.
I would also like to move for the same reason, policy LBD/R on second read.
Second.
Flanagan? Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Flanagan?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
North?
Yes.
I will keep it moving, and I would like to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
North?
Yes. Do we have any future agenda items? Obviously, continued discussion over budget, but anything else? And I will look for a motion to move into executive session.
I'd like to move that we convene an executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute, Section 24-6-402, Sub 4, Sub E, Sub 3, developing the strategy of the school district for negotiations relating to collective bargaining or employment contracts, specifically with respect to the school district's negotiations concerning its collective bargaining agreements with the Clear Creek County Education Association for teachers and education support professionals for the term beginning August 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
North?
Yes. Yeah. I thank you all for coming this evening.